Hello and welcome to my Bloom Blueprint series. I am about to move into the first phase of the Bloom Blueprint, which is all about surrender. And I thought it would be fun to take you along that journey with me. So I'm going to be filming a little bit of before, during and after so that you can see in real time how I am embodying, integrating and practicing this work in real time. What is coming up, how I'm moving through it, processing it, and everything in between. So this is the before. I haven't started yet, and I thought I'd share a little bit on what the phase is about, what I'm bringing into this phase, and also what I'm curious about going in. And then hopefully we'll cut to a little bit of during and then what's come through after. So I just want to first preface that this first phase, it's not about giving up, it's not about collapsing, it's consciously letting go and releasing anything that is holding you back, anything that has run its course, that no longer feels aligned. And usually the body already has a felt sense of this. There's something that doesn't feel like it needs to be there anymore, but often the mind is resisting it. Sometimes that looks like us looping, ruminating, clinging on, attachments. It can come up in so many different shapes and forms. But what this first phase really invites us to do is to surrender and let that go. And this first phase is a nod to autumn, what we see in the seasons. So just as we see in autumn, leaves falling away, things dissolving, and all of that is going back into the earth, back composting to become fertile ground for something new. That's the same for us. So it's an invitation to see ourselves as nature, to not resist this letting go, to allow it to fall with grace, to make space for the new, but to also allow whatever we've released to actually nourish us and actually become part of the medicine, part of the cycle for the new growth, for the new season. So for myself, what I am exploring are a few things. The things that I'm already kind of aware of. First is my identity. So my identity feels like it's shifting, evolving, every few months, sometimes days. And what I've become really aware of is that there's an old version that without realizing, I was still very much abandoning myself, but very subtly. And this looked like sometimes over-explaining, over-considering, but to the detriment of myself. And on the surface, these things look very positive. They're attributes that are sometimes societally praised and seen as good things, good girl notion. So what I realized, or what's become apparent, is that I almost formed an attachment to this identity because for so long it has served me and it has benefited me. And actually seeing how when you do it to the point where it's hurting you or you're abandoning yourself, there's then this form of grief that can come up that wow, this hasn't been well-intentioned, even though that's what I thought it was. It was actually coming from wounding. So this is something that I'm consciously aware of and that I'm going to be leaning into, bringing into this phase to see what else comes up and how I can really begin to release this and hold space then for whatever unfolds from that. So that's the first thing. And then there's a few other things that I feel may also come up during this phase. So particularly around other people's projections. More recently, I've realized how I'm still sometimes holding on to what other people are projecting on and internalizing that in some shape and form. And also in relation to that, also connections that have run their course. So these are just a few themes and examples, I guess, of things that you can bring in, but you don't need to go into this phase knowing what it is you're going to release. You can just go in curiously, open, and see what unfolds. And what I often actually find is that whatever we begin to release almost initiates this domino effect of other things sometimes coming up to the surface. So sometimes these are just emotions that have been stuck that need to be felt, seen and heard. Other times they are deep layers of things that are also ready to be released. And it's only because we've began that process of shedding that more comes up for us to dissolve and to consciously release. And what's so beautiful about this phase and the Bloom Blueprint, to this structured journey, it gives you all of the steps, all of the support, all of the holding to really be with yourself so that you don't collapse, so that you can truly not abandon yourself and move through whatever needs to, so that we actually tie up loose ends and consciously complete this with compassion and love. And that's why it's such a beautiful journey. So I'm really curious to see what comes up for myself, and I'm really excited to share more behind the scenes of what this journey looks like in practice, so that if you too feel called to explore more, you can, and you can do this for yourself and really reap the rewards of this. So yeah, I'll see you on the other side. Hey, so I have just completed the pre-phase to the journey. So this is actually module 0. And it's really, first it's a bit of intro to the Bloom Blueprint and the journey, how to prepare, all of that. But there's also a really powerful inner journey meditation that almost creates the container in the environment and the inner journey preparation to move into the journey itself. And I honestly forgot how powerful it was. It's a little bit trippy listening to your own voice and going through your own journey, but it allowed me to first tune into where my body's at the moment in terms of these phases, and also began, I guess, connecting me in with what my body needs to prepare, and yeah, I guess where I am at now and what my intention is. And I think prior to that, I'd been thinking about my intention for surrender and why I was in that phase. But this allowed me to tap into what was the overarching intention beneath that. So the intention for going on this entire journey and what was beneath all of that. And yeah, I hadn't consciously been thinking about that. And what came through actually took me by surprise. So the word that came up and that landed in my body was to rise. And as it landed, my back just straightened up, and I could feel myself taking up more space, and I could feel the shift in my body as that sunk in. And I also had this image of a bamboo plant. So bamboo is known for kind of not much happening above the surface for a long time, and then they just shoot up out of nowhere. And some of you might also know I ran a bamboo anti-insect sleep program for a number of years. So I've been working with bamboo on many levels. So it was a bit of a nod back to that maybe, but also a bit of an analogy of kind of sensing that maybe this season, this phase or this cycle that I'm going on is all about really beginning to rise up into my power, into what I've come here to do this lifetime, into the work that I'm super passionate about, and really that taking up space as I was rising really felt like an edge to lean into. And yeah, as I said, I hadn't been consciously thinking about that, and it was interesting feeling and seeing that come up. And yeah, it's really set the tone for the bigger picture, or I guess invitation, with me going into this journey. So yeah, I took a bit of time to journal after around what came through, and also to feel into what's going to support me going in, from practical things in terms of like my environment, what's going to support my body, and a lot of this really is just giving ourselves permission. It's giving ourselves permission to go deeper into this, to protect time for these kind of things that are important and affect everything. And it's creating the right environment and container, which is all of the ethos behind Bloom itself, but it's kind of giving ourselves that permission right from the beginning. So I feel more than ready now to go into the first phase. So I will share how that goes, what comes through, and see you there. So it's the morning after having done the initiation, first intro part of the journey, and I'm just reflecting, sitting on what has already been stirring, what's been coming through. And what it's really reminded me of is really, once you make a decision, once you commit to something, so much already begins shifting just from that decision. And I say this to my clients all the time because I see it all the time with the people I work with, that just the decision to say yes, to go all in with the container for themselves, it's almost like I was going to say collaborate, you align. You align with that timeline, with that version of yourself who has said yes. And just from that shift alone, so much begins to begin confirming that back to your reality. So with myself, because I was already feeling into, okay, I'm going to surrender, let go of a lot of things. What am I opening up to here? What do I not see? So many additional insights have clicked in, things that now seem really obvious but I couldn't see before, where I was seeking certain things outside of myself, where I was outsourcing certain things, and it's almost like the pieces of the puzzle came through in a very clear way just over the last few hours. So both last night, in my dreams, this morning, and I find that all the time, but it was just such a powerful remembrance of it can be as simple as committing to something and then allowing things to unfold from that. So yeah, really interesting. I'm still open and curious to see what else will actually unfold because I haven't even began the phase. This is just from the commitment and the decision. And I feel also the inner journey meditation, which is part of that intro phase, includes a bit of an initiation and feeling into the intention, as I already shared. But I almost feel like that has also opened me up and given me kind of the permission to allow more things to unfold. I really feel something shifted internally. So it's not just what is coming up into my conscious awareness. I can feel things are orchestrating in the subconscious, in the body, and yeah, I'm just being with it. And I also had a real reminder on the power of just coming back to loving presence. This is what I do for my clients and all the spaces I hold. I simply come back to that loving presence to give people the space to just connect back in with their wisdom, their truth. And it's almost like I had a reminder of it can be as simple as that, both for myself. So I feel like this is an invitation for me to be holding that space for myself and not overthinking, not overcomplicating it. So that feels really powerful as well. So yeah, I am feeling calm, excited, open to actually move into this phase. So I'm going to be doing that just now, just after recording this, and I'll film a little bit during and then do some reflections after, and yeah, see where we go. See you on the other side. Just having finished the body communion flow as part of this surrender phase. So to take a few steps back, I began the phase with exploring what I'm ready to release through watching some videos and some really powerful prompts that when I journal on them, so much more starts flooding in. And I also held space for doing a commitment for what I'm ready to release. This is probably one of my favourite parts of this phase because you get really clear on what it is you're releasing, really voicing that, committing that. And I often find that sometimes it's our relationship with taking responsibility to actually making a commitment or a decision. So that very quickly comes to the surface if there's anything like that holding you back with releasing or having resistance to that. So that was really powerful. I was able to add language to it, add extra clarity on exactly what it is that I feel I'm ready to release. And then what's so interesting coming into this body communion flow, so this is space to allow the body to begin leading, moving, connecting in with where that thing that we're ready to release sits in the body, and to begin connecting in with that, and then through movement and permission, allowing it to begin to release somatically. And what I found really interesting was, obviously I came in already with tons of clarity, and then the moment I connected in with that place in my body, so much more knowing awakened. I had this kind of felt sense of this part, this version of me that I'm ready to release, how much that part had been so cautious, so careful, so lovingly trying to protect me. And it's almost like I felt that part of me so strongly in that moment. And then when I connected in with that space, and I could really feel the sensations in the center of my being, and lots of swirling, so physical sensations happening. And then as we moved into the invitation to move, and the guidance says this, but it always amazes me how the body just intuitively knows what to do. When we give the body permission and we hold that space, intuitively I knew exactly what I needed to do. And through that movement, through that gentleness, it's almost like I was gradually dissolving or cutting away whatever it was clinging into, but in a very gentle, easeful way, kind of like gently shaking that piece off, but by also giving that part of me space to actually be felt and seen, and know that it's okay for it to now begin releasing. And as I was moving, I could feel it gently, gradually releasing, and could feel kind of energy becoming unstuck. So I get a lot of that burpee energy is part of my release that I always notice. So on a very physical level, I could feel that coming up, feel the sensations. So it's amazing what just that permission, that space creates. And it's not just something on the mental level, I could physically feel it. And by the end, there was definitely this kind of lightness, this feeling of it's okay, and groundedness. I kind of felt very called to be much lower by the end, be kind of held, and I guess there was a sense of acceptance. But I feel with all of this, it is hard to add words to it and to add language to it in some ways. It's very much stuff happening on the unseen, on the felt sense, and something you have to just experience for yourself. But it's safe to say I'm feeling something has shifted, and I don't need to rush to understand all of it, even though there is naturally curiosity and insights coming up. I feel the invitation is just to be with what's happened. I'm going to take a bit of pause before moving into the next part, and I guess feeling gratitude for this as well, that so often we just don't hold the space and time to do something like this. So I'm feeling grateful for myself for saying yes to going through this journey, and for documenting it, which I haven't done before. So I'm feeling really grateful for that, and the opportunity to share this in real time as well. So if you're here listening, thank you. We're co-creating this moment together as well. So feeling gratitude for that too. Okay, so I've just finished the surrender phase, and wow. It's what I want to just actually touch on first is that it really is the space that we hold between where the true integration happens. So I moved through the surrender phase in 2 parts, and just by having my kind of focused awareness and attention around this theme, so much unfolded between the first and the second part. So it's almost like I was already in this container of gradually surrendering. Things were coming up into my awareness, especially around my old identity or the old ways of being that no longer have been serving me, and things like forgiveness was coming up, forgiveness for self, for being, I don't want to say attached, but I guess not as aware as how ingrained those ways of being had been, and how I'd very subtly still been abandoning myself. And what I always find interesting is it's almost like we have these realizations, the insights, the things come up, and it's always in the perfect time then that we read something or hear something, receive a message that almost confirms it. So what was really powerful was then going into the second part of the first phase. It was adding language to what I was realizing and coming to. And given that I've created this myself, it's even more trippy in a way, because you forget exactly what you've written and what you've created, or like the finer details of that. And yeah, the language was there, but I was kind of experiencing it in real time. And then going into that second part, having the language to confirm that, to cement that, was really powerful. I'm just going to have a look at a few things that I've kind of noted. So the whole journey, what's nice, it takes you through the mind, body on multiple levels, but then there's prompts and invitations for the integration, but everything's permission based and invitational, and it really is a practice of tuning inwards to feel what is and isn't for you. And straight away I knew what bits were resonant and what I wanted to move through, and sometimes you think, there's nothing else that could come up, and then you hold space for it and there's a deeper landing or a release or whatever. So yeah, I really enjoyed sitting with some of the journal questions, and then I did my own kind of parting words ritual, which was writing words to the part of me that I was letting go. And again, this is something I've been sitting with for days. I didn't think there was anything else that could come up, but having the space, permission to do that, even more unraveled. And it really felt like an intentional moment to honour that part of me. And what really came through again was how much love and compassion I had for that part, and really acknowledging and seeing that in a beautiful way. So yeah, that brought up a lot of emotions, and then I had a chance to kind of just, I guess, sit with that and let that land, and feel into if there was any resistance, anything else that I was shying away from. But after completing that, holding space for that, I was then doing some other stuff, but then after I received some messages about some stuff that I'd been waiting to get as a sign of a bit of a completion moment. And without going into kind of personal details, the timing of that message coming through felt like a tying of the loose ends of something I was completing. And in this phase, I share a lot about the art of letting go, but also the art of conscious completion, which does involve taking actions at times to tie up loose ends. So I always find with this work, it all unfolds at the perfect pace and timing. So everything just clicked in and felt very timely, and it really feels like I've now completed this first phase. And it's not to say it's to reach that completion, there's multiple layers, but just those synchronistic moments of that message coming in, how I felt, the shift, it always begins with that shift within. You feel the shift, and then external reality begins to mirror it. So yeah, I'm feeling quite complete and happy at this point, like lighter, like something really has been released, and excited to see what's going to unfold from this. This is like the clearing of the space to make room for something new, which I am already sensing, but I'm holding with lightness. So yeah, I think this concludes the first part. Really excited to keep documenting this process and sharing more. Would love to hear how this lands, and also any questions around the portal, if you are thinking or feeling to explore that or to join the collective. If there's questions or things you'd like me to share more on, please let me know. This is a new format of video that I'm doing, so I'm curious to hear what lands, what's helpful, what else to include as I keep doing this and going on my own journey, and hopefully having more of you along the journey with me as well. This is such powerful work, so yeah, I'm excited to have you here. But for now, sending lots of love, and I hope you enjoy your space, time, day, evening, wherever you are in this moment in time. Honouring you and sending so much love.